Hi, this is Zoltar. I'm making a video showing how to set up D&D Beyond with Roll20 using the Beyond 20 extension. I use this a lot in the games that I run on Roll20, so this is for players that join my games or just really anyone. And the I really enjoy. I think the D&D Beyond character sheets are fantastic. It's a great way for DMs to run their games on Roll20 or players as well. So anyway, let's get started. So the very first step is, of course, you want to make sure you have a D&D Beyond account. I've already gone through that step. They seem to kind of push you towards logging in using Google or Apple. So I just did that, using Google accounts. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. Okay, so once you get your account set up, your DM or whoever is setting up the campaign on D&D Beyond, they're going to give you a link to join the campaign. Okay, so you'll just come over here and you'll paste that link in your browser and click on it, and it's going to take you to it's actually going to automatically join you into the campaign, and it'll bring you to this web page. And of course, you can see on here there's a button to create a character. Okay, and so usually the idea, or one of the main reasons why you would want to set up a campaign on D&D Beyond like this is because they have this thing called content sharing. Right, so like if your DM or whoever's got the campaign going, they will have bought the various books and materials through D&D Beyond, and you might not have done that, right? So but with the content sharing, it's going to let you create characters and also like view the books on this. Like if you come up to the game rules and sources, anything that they have gained access to, they're sharing with you, you can come in here and you can view it. And then when you make a character in that campaign, specifically in that campaign, you can create your character with those options that those books enable. Okay, so it's very important that you create the character in the campaign. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this here to create a character for the campaign that I joined, and I'm going to show you the difference then between making a character as normal and making a character for the campaign. Okay, so I'm going to name this campaign character. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit more about the options here in just a minute, but let me click on over to the race, and you can see basically every race is allowed here, including some homebrew that I have enabled. But anyway, this is because the person that has the campaign, that's actually my main account, has access to all of these, and so since I'm in the campaign, I do as well. If I go to my characters in a separate tab, and I just create a character on my own, and then click on over to race, you see it's a lot more limited, because since this is just my own character, it only uses the things that I have personally owned. Okay, so that's one thing that can trip people up when they get started, is they go on their own to make a character, and then they're limited in terms of like the races and subclasses and spells and all that stuff. So if you're having that problem, like maybe you closed out the window before you click that button to create a character for the campaign, it's very easy. You just go to collections, my campaigns, you click on your campaign, and then you can use this button here to create an unassigned character. Okay, but let's go back to the one that I'm making for this. Let's just say it's a lion person. Okay. So ability scores, you get Constitution and Strength. Well, let's actually go back to here. So one of the things that you want to be aware of is conditionally, if your DM is allowing you to use the optional features from Tasha's, you'll need to select these buttons here. Okay, and then also you might want to look into like what materials from different settings do you have access to. Do you have access to Critical Role content, Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, and you know, just whatever your campaign is setting, and the defaults here, milestone for advancement and average hit points, like those are usually the most common ones, but you can change those up if you need to. Okay, so now that I've clicked the optional class features, when I come over to race, you notice there's an additional tab here for Origin Manager, and that lets me select the different optional features that I want. So if I wanted to swap my ability scores around, I need to check this. Then when I come back to the main tab, what's going on here? Okay, yeah, slight, you know, occasionally it'll be a little bit buggy, but so yeah, so now I can switch if I wanted to make a smart and wise lion. There I go. All right, class. I'm gonna actually specifically select barbarian and just bump it up. I'm just pretty much gonna leave a lot of this stuff blank because it doesn't really matter. But I will need to select scores, so you can actually do point by or standard array. They'll actually has a thing where you can roll your stats. It'll roll for you. But actually, if you're doing Roll20 account campaign, they probably you probably need to like roll if you're doing rolling stats. You should probably roll those in Roll20 so that your GM can actually see your rolls, and so you can't fudge that. But anyway, I'm going to set this up. Just distribute these, however, again, it doesn't matter. Okay. And then description, this is your background. You can pick whatever background. You can also do custom, which will let you configure it, and you can give it a name. You can pick the skills, tools, and language, like whichever set that you want. You can mix and match features and characteristics from different backgrounds, you know, whatever you want to do. And for my case, this is just an example character, so it doesn't really matter. You can come over to equipment, and you know, I'm going to set that up. I think if you do the custom background, it doesn't have like a specific set of background equipment for you, so you'll need to check with your GM for that. Okay, and now we have the character. So we've gone through. So we again just to recap, we created an account for D&D Beyond. We used the link to join the campaign, and then we built our character. You know, going through the different options and whatnot. And you know, that's 90% of going through the setup is like we're already done with it. Okay. So the next thing, I've actually already got Beyond 20 installed, but if you were starting it fresh, the next step for you would be to do search for Beyond 20 and click on there. You're going to install this browser add-on for either Firefox or Chrome, whichever one you're using. Okay, and so then you'll be here. Okay. So if you've installed Beyond 20, you should notice, you know, of course, this button up here, the Beyond 20 button, and you should also notice up on your URL tab up here, you've got like a little option thing there as well, and you're going to notice when you mouse over some of these abilities, you get a little D20 thing that pops up that you can click on, and as well as if you click on something and bring up the sidebar, there'll be buttons to do rolls on Roll20. So that actually, if I let me actually go over here and show you the Roll20. Let me get let me log into a campaign here. It's not actually the one I wanted to show, but for now it'll work. So when I click on this button here, the Beyond 20 button, it's going to send a roll. You can see this popped up here, the claw attack, of course, in that one, but it outputs your roll to whatever browser tab you have for Roll20 opened, and you can, if it's an attack, you can click on the little button to roll the damage as well. Let me actually go back to my games. This is the one that I wanted to use. Okay. So a few things about this. Okay, yeah. Actually, so the next step. So we've got our Roll20 or D&D Beyond character sheet set up with Beyond 20, and we can output our rolls. That's great. So the next thing you need to do is you're gonna have your GM set you up with a character sheet. So let me go ahead and actually create a blank character sheet. And so when you log into Roll20, you'll see it might have just like a random name on here, and your GM will assign it to you, so it will show up in your journal. Okay, so you're going to open this up, and since we're using D&D Beyond for the character sheet, the Roll20 character sheet, we need to do like very minimal setup on it. It's just like very tiny. So you can click on the character sheet tab, and you can actually just edit it directly. Because there's only like 3 things you need to do here. And the first is you come over here, check your hit points. Like I've got 35 hit points. So you want to set up your current and maximum hit points, just like that, on your character sheet. That's the first thing. The second thing is you want to come up here and set your character name. It needs to match letter for letter. I set this up as campaign character. So okay, so match that exactly. And the last thing is if you click on the bio and info tab, there's sort of a bug on Roll20 where you have to actually close the sheet out and reopen it to get the edit button to show. But you're going to edit, and you're going to upload your avatar. And that's really the last thing that you as a player would need to do in Roll20. So let's do this. So, okay, how are you going to find an avatar? Well, real quick, let's see. What did we do? We did so you can come on over to Google or whatever search engine, and let's just let's just say orc barbarian. It's not gonna actually match what I made, but so we'll find an image, and sure, this one looks good. Okay, so I can right click, and I'm going to copy the image location, and then in a separate tab you're going to search for token stamp 2, and it has this is a really great website for making tokens. You just click choose image, and I can paste in my URL, open it up, and that's going to load up the image. Set it up however you want. You can change the background, like the border thing here. That's the one that I like to do. And then you can just click upload. It's going to send it to Imager, and I can copy that image location, and then back in Roll20 I'm going to upload that as my avatar. And just give it a second, and I'm done. I've got my character set up on Roll20, and I've got my character sheet on D&D Beyond. Now your GM is going to probably want to do a little bit of setup for the token on Roll20, and they're going to set the green bar. Typically, it doesn't have to be the green one, as sort of like a health bar. So they tie that to the hit points. That's why on the character sheet you want to set up the hit points, and they might display your name and do some dynamic lighting stuff. But that's all the GM is going to do all that stuff for you. So one thing that's pretty cool is if I come over to back to my D&D Beyond character sheet, let's say I take a hit for 7 points. So I'm going to type in 7 here and then do damage, so that adjusts my hit points. Back on Roll20, you see it actually synchronized up with my D&D Beyond sheet. Very nice. Okay. Now let me go through a few other things about operating the D&D Beyond character sheet. Okay. So let's actually let me. I didn't actually want a great axe. Let me show the example. Let's say let me add a battle axe to my inventory. Then I'm going to equip it. And I'm doing this specifically with the battle axe because it's a versatile weapon. So I'm going to click on this, and you can actually click the little swords to do the roll. And see, it outputs the roll here. And if I click on that, it does the damage. Now you'll see it does. It shows the one-handed damage as well as the two-handed damage. If you're always using one particular way, then it's kind of cluttered up to have both. So there's actually a way you can customize it here. So if you go to click on the Beyond, this little Beyond 20 button here, brings up some options. And one of those options is versatile weapon choice. And right now it's set to roll both damages separately. So let's say I'm only using it one-handed. I can select that. And now when I do my battle axe, this time I'm going to roll it from the sidebar. Man, I'm just rolling really low on these today. But anyway, so now you can see it's a little bit better there. Okay, so one thing, it actually pops up this message when you first load the page, but you want to make sure that you click on the features tab, and what it does is it parses, it like reads all of your class features and enables some like additional stuff to work with that. So now that it's like read this and sees that I'm a barbarian with rage, if I click back on this button, you'll see it's added down here at the bottom a little button. So if I click this, now when I make my attacks and go back to here, finally a decent roll, and oh nice. So yeah, so now it's showing the rage damage as well. And you can also add on, so if I click on this, in the custom damage dice formula bonus, you can add things to, like, let's say, if you're a ranger and you do hunter's mark, you can just type hunter's mark, do a colon, and 1d6. And so now when I make my attack roll on here, it does the hunter's mark for me and the rage as well. Okay. Okay, what if I recklessly attack, right? So advantage and disadvantage, how do you do that? It's actually very simple on D&D Beyond. So if you hold down shift, it'll do advantage. See how the turns green with the plus? So if I hold down shift, do a reckless attack, there it is, shows rolling with advantage. And then if I want to do disadvantage for anything, I can hold down control, and that puts a little minus there. So I do an attack at disadvantage and get another nat 1. So that covers most of. Actually, let me come in here. I'm gonna. So if you level up, you can go edit your character. You can just add levels. I'm actually going to add another class and show a little bit of the spell casting stuff. So go to the features. Okay. So D&D Beyond has a really nice spell manager where you can edit your known spells and go by the spell level and click whichever ones. And let me do Flaming Sphere actually. and let's do conjure animals. Okay, so pretty similar to doing the attacks I was doing before. I can click on this and it'll do primal savagery. Click on that to roll the damage. For your leveled spells, it gives you, so it tracks your spell slots, and it gives you a button to cast using a spell slot. You can also upcast. So if I upcast it, it will include the damage and everything. So let's say I upcast it actually, and I cast Flaming Sphere using a spell slot. Okay, it's gonna put out the description of the spell here. It rolls the damage for me here. Still got the hundreds mark on there, which I'll just leave it. Actually, let me take it off. It only takes a second. Oops. What did I do? I hit the wrong button on my keyboard. Okay. So, oh yeah, so it was upranked. So, now that I've used, Flaming Sphere is a concentration spell, so it's an ongoing thing, and you can slam it into people. So when I do that, I don't want to click the spell slot thing because I'm not actually using another spell slot. So that's what you have this button for here, is to cast it on the virtual tabletop, and again, it will output another hit and roll the damage again. You can also, if you want to just display the spell description, that's what this little button here is for. So on Roll20, it's going to show the spell card. And lastly, let me show. So let's say you cast Conjure Animals. Another really cool thing about the D&D Beyond is it has this extras tab here, so you can manage extras, and you can do if you're a druid, you can search for different wild shape forms. Let's say I wild shape into a a giant poisonous snake. That's one of my favorites, so I can add that on here, and it lets me manage the hit points, so I can track that. I can roll attacks from the. Just rolling really poorly today. Yeah, so I can do wild shape, and also I can do summon creatures. So if let's say I summon a dire wolf, I can add that on here. And you can also just search, let's say, for the monsters on here. And Beyond 20 will let you, roll ability checks and saves and attacks directly from the monster pages. So, tentacle attack. Very handy. I use that all the time as a DM. D&D Beyond also has a really nice encounter builder for DMs. So I think that is pretty much everything for the getting the character sheets set up, and rolling abilities and whatnot. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you can do on Roll20. So as far as movement, so you've got your token, you can move it around. Over here, there's a measuring tool, so you can, if you want to measure how far you can move. But that's actually not the best way to do it. So if you click on your token and you're dragging it around, if you right click, it will add a measuring tool to your movement. And you can also, if you right click again, it'll put a pin. So if you want to do if you want to break your movement up into different steps, it's very useful for that. So that's moving around. For initiative, let me clear the tracker. So if you're, as a player, if your GM, when your GM tells you to roll initiative, first things first is make sure you click on your character, on your token, because it's going to send the initiative roll to whatever you have selected. So then come over here, of course, you can click on your initiative roll, and that'll send your initiative and put you on the track, the turn order. Anything else? I think that just about covers it. Yeah. So just in summary, D&D Beyond, I prefer the D&D Beyond character sheet to Roll20. It has a lot of really nice features that the Roll20 character sheet doesn't have, and it's also, you know, if you have the if you have the content bought on D&D Beyond, it's really nice to be able to use that for your characters and your campaign. So, hope you found this useful, and have a good day.